Hey, what's good with the YouTube? It's your boy Rojo. This is a convict's perspective. Join with my co-host, Big Flacco, you already know. And we're smashing and dashing on sliding on through. With what, Flacco?
A little bit of energy.
As you can tell by the title, man, this is kind of a breakdown of a hit, we'll just call it, that went down in the San Jose Regiment. Right before all those indictments back in the 90s. This was kind of part of it, man. It wasn't really pursued too much at the trial for whatever reason. But this particular one brought the total to 10 while they were already fighting 6 removals, total removals, we'll call them those. And you guys know Flacco, he's a historian. He's been there. He's from that area. He knows what's going on. So Flacco, man, tell me a little bit about this, brother.
Okay, so I remember hearing about this story as a kid back in the county jail in 1996. Paul Farfan was really respected by a lot of young Norteños that were out there in the streets. He was allegedly a Northern Structure member at that time. And see, so what happened with this situation, okay, after numerous indictments in the 70s and 80s, the NF kind of went underground and started to, restructure the organization as far as their activities on the streets were not as well known. Different directives came out when Dump Truck came out and so forth. And at the time, structure was already forming, was already being recognized as a faction. And so they started to have low-ranking members start to shake down drug dealers out there in the streets, structure members. It was like they were their own entity, but they were falling under the NF's bandera. And so one of these individuals they were trying to shake down was Paul Farfan, allegedly. And allegedly, he did not want to kick back any proceeds from the money that he was making. And so this got back to Vicente Chente Rojo from Chino, who was on the governing body at that time. And so when he got word about that, he immediately put a green light on him. Okay, the person who was running the streets for the structure basically was an individual named Adam Caris. Okay, he had his own little crew and so forth going out there. Chente was there with an individual named Carlos Mendoza, who was able to order the green light through Chente Rojo. That was passed along to a female. All these people got indicted in this case, okay? It took 3 years for this transcript from this case to come to public knowledge because the defense attorneys did not want it to get out there. So Deborah Mendoza got the orders and passed that along to Adam Caris. So there was an individual named Luis Oliveras who was trying to strive to become structure along with Adam Caris. Now, Adam Caris's ideas were taking it back to the 70s and 80s of how the NF used to function way back before. Home invasions, shaking down drug dealers, and so forth. Those were the things they were doing. So eventually, Paul Farfan was found at a park called Watson Park or Watson Park in San Jose. He was ambushed at that time by Luis Oliveras and Adam Caris. Shot 5 times. One of the shots was so close that law enforcement believed that they put the pistol to his head and pulled the trigger. Now, the after effects of this, right, was a lot of outrage from family members and a lot of other Norteños that did not know what was going on. Allegedly, there was potentially a female that was trying to cross him up out there on the streets. What's the common theme here? Everything is always surrounded by a female.
Yeah.
So this was kept under wraps as far as in the original indictment was silent and all that. But this was part of what was going on out there in the streets. It's just the orders did not come through Dump Truck or, Dump Truck never gave no orders. It didn't come through Silent or Lucky or any of those individuals. It came from Chente Rojo, right?
Yeah.
And there was, like I said, it just shows a pattern here. There was no due process. There was no proper investigation. A lot of these dudes that were well-known structure members at that time were putting in a lot of work out there in the streets, but they were more worried about living up to an image as opposed to doing the right thing. People were just dying that didn't need to die, bro. And that's the facts. Like I said, I've seen pictures of Paul Farfan, like with homeboys of mine that I know real well, is talking about, man, how good of a dude he was, man. Like pictures of him wearing a blue rag back in the days. You know what I'm saying? Before there was all this North or South and stuff like that, man. So he was allegedly a good dude. His family's pretty well known too, as well. A lot of his family are related out there to the South Side, the Hoffman area. So if you're from Hoffman, you probably have heard the name Farfans.
You know, one thing I found interesting too, this is like the first time that I ever noticed that prosecutors attempted to deny a defendant access to telephones. Because they tried to do that to Bobby Lopez, Silent. Everybody knows who that is. on the allegation that he used it in 1991 for the Sheila Apodaca incident. You know what I mean? So they were trying to use that as a tool to excommunicate him. You know what I mean?
Now, the other thing that we found out, Rojo, on this case was interesting is we've always heard that Brown Bob went back to prison for perjury.
Yeah.
This is the exact case that he went for perjury under.
Yeah.
Was this case right here? You know,
Yeah.
so this case was a lot more bigger than people realize. It's just the transcripts weren't really released. Now, they didn't want this case to be released because it was going to affect the current defendants in the death row case, because it was going to expose them to more activities and more things that were going on within the NF. That's like within an 18-month period, there was 10 bodies that were confirmed.
Yeah.
I know that there was even more out there at that time that were NF related. It's just that it's like it doesn't look like that from the surface. You know what I'm saying? They were doing a lot of things, and they had, like I said, like this right here shows that this was a whole separate crew that was out there, and it was almost like these were structure members, bro. They were under the NF's vendetta. They were taking orders from a structure member, right? But at the same time, they were, you know what I'm saying? It was like it was their own separate crew, as opposed to all the other ones. All the Carnales were working hand in hand together. Very few structure members were. This crew over here was all NR members.
Yeah, it doesn't specify exactly why Brown Bob was perjured. It just says indicted for perjury in the case is Robert Viramontes, another alleged member of Nuestra Familia's ruling council, known as the Mesa. But yeah, it doesn't go into detail. I'm just wondering, like, you know, what happened on that. Because in order to be perjured, you have to take the stand. You're not perjured just by your statements to the police.
Well, can't you perjure yourself by refusing to answer questions?
I don't know. I think that would be contempt of court, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're right. But probably what he did was when they probably asked him, "Are you an NF member?" No, you're perjuring yourself. Right? Think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, San Jose was cracking back then, man. This had long-term effects as far as overall in that city. These whole cases right here, man.
You know who was prosecuting it too was them attorneys that actually got the hit put on them at one point in time.
Oh yeah.
It was Catherine Costantinides or whatever. Yeah, that's interesting, man. They were trying to say since this indictment happened, all the gang members were moving out of San Jose because of their aggressive prosecution.
Well, apparently Adam was on the run at that time, man. You know, who were some other NR members that were pretty well known out there, like Roy Reveles, Timo Hernandez. I think even there was a whole bunch of other cats, man, that were out there, man. Chocolate got killed. So there was a couple structure members that got killed out there in the streets. And the thing is during this time era, bro, that people don't realize is there was never really any due process, bro. These guys were left to their own devices to make any decisions that they wanted. And a lot of these dudes, let's just keep it 100, they were fucking all kinds of out on PCP or something, bro. And they were making decisions based upon what they felt was going to be of value to them. You know, I've read the other transcripts where their bank only had $150 and they used it for alcohol and fucking party. Remember? You know what I'm saying?
They said that dude Luis Oliveras was a wannabe gang member who wanted to earn his bones by participating in this.
That's disrespect, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it says, hey, this real quick. Charged with Fairfax's murder of Vincent Arroyo, one of the alleged leaders of the ruling council of the Nuestra Familia, Adam Cadiz, the self-proclaimed leader of San Jose's northern structure. So what do you do? Go in there like, I'm in charge. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Remember, they had a cat ranking system back then.
Yeah, they charged the girl. They charged Carlos, Deborah for being the one who put up. Yeah, this thing's a mess, man.
Well, I mean, you got to remember who's the one that also flipped at that time. Out of all those people that would know everything.
Yeah.
Chente. That's why I always thought this, bro. I said, you know what? If you have people under you, there's no reason to report everything how it went and transpired to your higher authorities unless it's requested under an investigation. If you're given the green light to go hit someone, however you convey that and whoever does it, it doesn't need to be put out there.
Yeah.
It's just a breach of security. You know what I'm saying? Just get the job done. Get her done. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you start to implicate all kinds of people, you know what I'm saying? Like even with the order that came out through a female, there should have been a code already known out there. They should have even wrote that in riddle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it should never, something that serious should never touch a non-participant's, line of vision. You know what I mean?
But remember, they were not as the organizational codes and so forth were only evolving at this time. You know what I'm saying?
That's a no-brainer though, bro. That's like a no-brainer. To me, I don't know. To me, I don't know.
They were on phones like this talking about hit the bitch. You know what I mean?
Hey, times have changed, bro. Times have changed for sure.
I mean,
Hey, when we did that story about that whole indictments, man, we could only do part of it because there was so much going on. It would have been a 3-hour episode. Them guys were out there doing the damn thing. And you think all that stuff, they say 10 murders. They didn't get caught for every one. Come on.
Oh yeah, bro.
I mean, the DAs and them are good, but come on, man. If they're not 100%.
Their thinking process at that time was to strike fear in the community again. See, that's what the NF was traditionally known for doing out there, like in Fresno when they were hitting the streetwalkers and so forth, and the pimps and stuff like that. They used to shake down businesses and so forth. Even in San Jose, they used to do that. Tattoo parlors and so forth. And they acted out of fear. You know what I'm saying? Which would lead them to people complying until they end up getting hemmed up. Now that everybody's getting hemmed up for the fear factor behind the NF, now they're trying to be a little bit more, crafty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Less about putting out, this is the NF. Well, there's a time and place when you have to use those words to say what you have to say to get it done. But now if you could sit there and manipulate the situation or manipulate others to do your bidding and help you out, that's how it's going to work.
Yeah, right in the transcripts, he was saying that Cadiz wanted to rob connections. Go kick in the door, tie them up, take their dope, pistol whip them, whatever. You know what I mean? Says the NF was famous for that, back in the days. Just like what you're talking about, it's like, an extreme show of aggression to set an example, just like you said.
Yeah. That's
a trip, dude. Yeah, and now it's all about trying to, discretion and,
Well, now they brought all the Northerners in the fold, so you can sit there and just the fear factor of these dudes wanting to do your bidding, you could just send one directive out there to a hood, and it gets out to that hood, they're going to go deal with whatever issue it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't have to, but all that does is that exploits these lower level gang members who really don't know what they're doing, but they want to be a part of something. This is the key thing that people don't realize. Back in the days, in the 80s and 90s, I had a talk with someone, man, shouts out to him, I'm not going to say his name, but he shed some light to me about the Southern California gangs and Northern California gangs. He said before, 80s and 90s, gang members were gang banging. They weren't making money. It was very unlikely that they were making money. It was all about gang banging. That's it. The NF brought into the fold, or even the MA, the money side of things, the taxation, the pushing product. They opened the doors for these hoods to have that focus of making money. Before that, it wasn't about that. You'd be lucky if you had one or two homeboys that maybe was connected to some biceps that could get some work and was out there balling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they weren't spreading the wealth. Yeah.
Yeah, but traditionally, these street gangs had no type of influence or ties to making money out there in the streets. They really had no ties to the NF. They just did their own thing.
Right.
Now that the NF came and imposed different expectations, now they're all making money. Now they've adapted a whole new way of thinking. So the evolution of the gang lifestyle is just right there in front of you. Before this, it was all about, you know what I mean? Like getting the opposition. Now it's all about, let's get that money. Oh, the O's going to help us out. They're going to provide us some work. And that's been the sales pitch that started to occur in the 2000s was, look, we got a footload of soldiers in San Jose. Everybody was working for us. You know what I mean? You don't need to come in here, with the people that have the product, the major plugs, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to come out here and worry about having to deal with all these people because we can do it for you because we got all these soldiers that work for us. And that's a sales pitch, bro. I've done that shit. It's simple. When you have that much power over these neighborhoods and you're giving them something that's of value that could help them, now you've got control of that hood because you're making money. You know what I'm saying? And that was a smart play by them in some senses, but in other senses, it's exploited the gang members out there. And it's brought them into indictments to now where they're getting indicted. And it's kind of hypocritical to what the cause is supposed to be about. The cause is about to go to prison, come out and be a better civilian and help your gente. How are you helping your Hampton by pushing product out there in the streets? You know what I'm saying? And that's just the truth of it. It's kind of a oxymoron situation if you really get down to it, man. And I'm not knocking it. It is what it is. Just that there's no true believers in the cause of struggle no more. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, maybe in the organizations, there are true believers in the O. I believe that. You know what I'm saying? But the actual cause that's taught to the Northerners and North Daniels, it wouldn't be pushing dope in your own communities. It wouldn't be out there committing crimes and hurting your own people. It'd be about uplifting them, telling them to go to school, get into a business trade, go to construction sites. You don't see none of that. The hoods are out there making their money, and they're getting indicted with the NF. And see, that's the biggest thing I noticed when I read these cases, right, is after this case, everything changed. Come the GUNCD, Operation Black Widow, street gang members were now going to fall in line under the NF authority, period.
Yeah. Yeah, that damn GUNCD, I mean, it did what it was intended to do, for sure, without a doubt. And like you said, man, things didn't start changing until Black Widow. You know, where I was, bro, I tried to do my thing and make a nice, firm footprint in that area. It was very, very difficult. Now that same area, they're out there doing the bidding like they're supposed to.
They're plugged in with somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
everybody's plugged in now, bro. It's very rare to find a straggler neighborhood.
That's a selling point for the NF, though. Think about it. For its recruits, look, we can provide this, we can provide that. I mean, you didn't have that before, is what I'm trying to get at. It's totally changed. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. It's just but we need to call it what it is.
Yeah. They went from gang banging to fucking money making.
The thing is, if you're a certain hood and say your hood has certain ties to a family member or whatnot, you're pretty much going to be blessed and not affected by anything that's going on out there in the streets because you're dealing directly with that individual. It's almost turned into in some instances, not all, just in some instances. So let me clarify this. It's almost became how the MA operates their things, to where when a metal's plugged in with this hood. There's a couple hoods out there I know that are connected with people in the feds, that these hoods cannot be touched by NECs out there in the streets because they're dealing with certain generals.
Right.
And those are facts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely evolved, dude, from our time to now, you know. You don't see as much wildness though, man. That era in San Jose was wild. Around a little bit later, a couple years later in Salinas, it was wild. They're keeping more of a low profile now, man. And I've always been the one, when I was doing my thing, to advocate for less violence. You know, only as a last resort. You know, because that's what interrupts your flow. You know, you're trying to make money out there, man, and you know, people get shot up, and there's witnesses, and people are on the news talking about bullets were flying everywhere, and we were scared for our lives. The government's going to respond. If you're out there hustling and not bothering nobody, they don't like it, but they're not mad at you. You know what I mean? They don't have a personal vendetta. You know, because what happens is when people get killed, their family members get on the news, they get on social media, then they start to question law enforcement about why they're not doing their job, getting guns off the street, stopping gangs, et cetera, et cetera. And law enforcement's like, oh, you want to bring this negative, you know, reflection upon us? We're going to rain on your parade, bro.
Your ass, huh?
When you're out there hustling, your average John Doe don't even see it. You know, you're going to drop something off, you're bouncing somewhere else, you ain't bothering nobody. You're basically like a delivery driver. Nobody's the wiser. When bodies drop, it changes the whole scheme of things, bro.
And usually when bodies are dropping, it's because there's an egotistic individual behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That wants that attention. And, you know, this is the biggest mistake people are making, is that, you know, it's the insanity cycle we've discussed. They think they're going to do it different than the next man. It never happens. You know what I'm saying? You know, just the proof is in the pudding. Just look at all the long case of indictments in all kinds of different cities that happen every 6 months to 2 years. You know, I mean, you can go through Tulare County, Salinas, San Jose, Sacra, all these areas. There's always continuous indictments. So people get out there and they think they're going to do it different. I'm saying, oh, I can make this work. But that's just, it's never going to happen, man. Just people need to be real. If you want to live in this life, you're going to get indicted. Go ahead, have at it. If that's your life, be about it. you know?
Yeah.
I think that's why sometimes when individuals finally get exposed to what that life is and they decide to walk away without causing damage to any of these organizations or cause, you have to respect that. So some people need to realize that. I've heard the saying, people say, you should have known what you were signed up for. It's not always explained like that to you, bro. And you sometimes you have these blindfolds over your eyes because you're thinking you're about this and that. And then when everything gets exposed, it's nothing that you've seen.
Right.
So for those that have the courage to sit there and say, you know, that get too deeply involved and decide, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this, but they're not doing damage to the lower cause, you got to respect that. Let them walk, let them lead. Because if they continued with this negative cycle of abuse and bullshit, they're going to be more suspect to telling. Them walking away because they don't agree with what they're seeing, let them walk away with it. Yeah. They're no longer a threat.
I agree. Hey, you start whacking people, and you know, especially people that have been around. You know, I'm not. Let's just throw out, like, say, Brown Bob, for example, whatever. People start to think, and then there's 10 murders in San Jose. They're like, these people are going to come after me and kill me. They're telling. You know, if they think, oh, I'm just not going to mess with them no more, and they'll just never talk to me again and leave me the fuck alone, they might not be so tempted to call 911. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real.
Yeah, bro.
You know, you see 10 bodies drop in a year and a half. You're like, okay, well, if I do this, they're going to kill me.
I told you that when the gun went off in the house, I dropped to the floor and said, man, they're trying to kill me. I thought they were trying to fucking hit your boy, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't know for what.
Yeah, hey, 7, 8 times out of 10, you don't know for what, though. You're just dead. You're just dead. You know what I mean?
Anyways, guys, this was an interesting article, man, that we read. We didn't read the article. We broke it down a little different for you guys, but I went through the transcripts. Rojo went through the article as well. So we brought as much accurate information as far as how it's been told. There's always a disclaimer that, hey, nothing's ever perfect.
Yeah.
Now, like I said before I end this, allegedly, it may have been a female that was trying to cross him up. I don't know. All I do know is that his life was took. And, you know, this is all too common, man, that these type of things happen when you want to live that lifestyle. So think about what you're doing out there, man. Stay blessed, stay positive. It's your boy Flacco, Rojo, and we out.
Yes, sir. Have a good day, you guys, man. Enjoy your week.